Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so now that Scarlet Witch Sigil is actually coming to the game, controversially if I may add, there have been more and more requests for me to review her. Joke's on you though, because I already have done it once and I will leave a video link to that in the description. In that video we're also going to see her animations in action and all that other good stuff. However, I did think about it and I figured maybe, just maybe it would be a good time to relook at her abilities based on the current metagame and how it could affect it and whether I could see her making any impact at all. Now we do have the first problem that if you're looking at her right here, then her signature ability is locked. And I'll sort that just by taking a screenshot from the previous video where I was reviewing her abilities. And here it is. Now the quality here is quite bad because it's kind of like a screenshot of an old video, but it's good enough for me to make out what it is. So I'm going to read it out loud and we're going to go over it. So against Cosmic, Mystic and Tech champions, 20% chance per instability to inflict a Petrify or Armor Break debuff for 3 seconds. On activation of Chaos Surge. Chaos Surge is one of her base core mechanics that do have a chance to activate every 4 seconds per instability. So basically every 4 seconds you will have a chance to place a Petrify or Armor Break debuff on your opponents that lasts for 3 seconds. Against Cosmic, Mutant and Skill champions, 20% chance per instability to inflict a Power Sting or Heal Block debuff for 3 seconds. You can notice that Cosmic is mentioned in both of these lists, so she gains more of these abilities against Cosmic, and then she gains nothing against Science. So Petrify reduced the regeneration rate and ability power rate by 100% based on Sig level. Armor Break reducing opponent's armor by 1400 based on Sig level, and Power Sting deal 3194 direct damage. Heal Block, well, stopping the heal effects. So that is her awakened ability. I do think it is quite useful. I don't think it is necessarily going to be absolutely vital, except for the matchups that you definitely 100% must have access to Armor Break in order to nullify some sort of abilities. That being said, let's check out the rest of her kit and see what she is all about. First of all, as many Mystic champions these days, all of her hits are dealing energy damage instead of physical. That's kind of fairly common Mystic trait. And that is neither amazing, neither bad. It's just different from how regularly champions deal damage. Then on special activation, gain 1 indefinite instability. 1 instability is removed when knocked down by a special attack. So every time you activate special attack, you gain 1 of this instability charge, which is going to come into play later as well. If 6+ instabilities are active for 10 seconds, inflict opponent with degeneration, dealing 13,626 direct damage over 6 seconds. That is quite a lot of damage. Obviously, this is with a 6-star rank 5. We can take a look at the 5-star and see what damage would she do at the rank 5 level. And that is 7,900. So 6-star rank 3 would be dealing close to 10,000-ish, probably. And that is good amount of degen that you just passively cause your opponent suffer. However, when the degeneration expires, remove all instability. And the thing is, this is something that you will more than likely want to avoid. Therefore, you will have to control your instabilities. Now, let's go to her Chaos Surge mechanic, which is based on this instability. Well, its potency is based. Every 4 seconds, activate Chaos Surge, granting both champions 20% chance per instability to gain 1 randomly selected buff. Small chance to grant all buffs. And if you have 5 instabilities, it goes to 100%, and every 4 seconds, both champions are guaranteed to gain 1 of these buffs, if not all. So, Armor Up, granting 1130 armor rating. Fury, granting 1300 attack rating, which accounts for like 50% of her base attack. Cruelty, granting 233 critical damage rating. Prowess, 120% special attack rating. Unblockable, lasting 4 seconds. And buffs are not granted to champions launching special attacks. So if either of the champions is in the middle of launching special attack, these buffs are not granted. Also, the last point here, if Scarlet Witch nullifies any Armor Up, Fury, Cruelty, Prowess, or Unblockable buffs, she gains her matching Chaos Surge buff. So if you nullify opponent's Fury, you gain a Fury of your own. And initially, it actually seemed quite a scary thing, because opponents randomly could go unblockable every 4 seconds. And then the next part of her ability kind of ties it all together. Before the opponent lands an attack, and that's the key phrase here, while blocking, 15% chance to nullify one buff increased to 100% chance during well-timed blocks. And that is insane, and that is huge, and I absolutely love that. First of all, you can easily, for instance, nullify stuff from Juggernaut, which otherwise would be inflict with Stagger. But you can also parry unblockable hits so long as they gain the unblockability from an active buff. So, for instance, you would not be able to, block Aegon, because I don't think Aegon gets his unblockability from an active buff. But you would be able to block Nova when he's unblockable, or Silver Surfer when he's unblockable after his level 2s, for instance. So, in certain situations, she will be able to block unblockable hits, which is quite huge. And this nullify mechanic in itself is fairly unique, because typically you do have to throw special attack, land some hits, do something that's active and interacts with opponent's abilities in order to access nullify abilities. Now, with this champion, only thing you have to do is kind of sit back and just parry. On top of that, you will quote-unquote have a chance to steal their buffs, for instance, if you happen to fight against an opponent who has prowess buffs of their own, or if the node gives them prowess buffs, you can steal those and trigger Mystic Dispersion, gain power, and gain prowess buff. So it is very intriguing mechanic. Now, there is the obvious part of where a lot of these abilities are quite random, but the question is whether it's going to be random in the sense of how Modoc's level 3, or however the duck used to be, or I don't know, Platinum Pool is, or it's going to be more controlled random. And I do not think she's going to be the best option for like a ton of scenarios or anything like that, but I do think that she offers a fairly interestingly fresh ability kit of a new take on Mystic Champion that gives opponents buffs constantly, that takes them away from opponents constantly. Therefore, she would be one of the champions that, from the Mystic class, similar to Tigra, similar to Dragonman, that can act similar to Mojo, that can work outside of buff-heavy matchups. It doesn't seem like quite typical Mystic champion in a sense like that, and I love that. Also, a very important bit is her heavy attacks consume 1 instability to create a non-stacking power gain buff, generating 100% of bar power over 10 seconds. Now, that is quite potent power gain, however, it does not stack. But I would argue that even more important ability here is the fact that you get rid of one of your instabilities. And remember that you gain these instabilities when you launch special attacks. So long as you drop in a heavy attack after you have launched special attack, you can control that very neatly, very nicely in a lot of matchups. And you never have to kind of like start over, which is another thing that I like. It somewhat reminds me of Spider-Ham mechanic, except you do have more control of it because it doesn't depend on opponent's power. It depends on you activating special attacks. So there we go. I like this one quite a bit as well. And then we have the special one is fairly useless. The first successful hit creates 1 instability. It's just kind of to help her ramp up quicker. You're probably going to want to start a fight with it because launching this one will give you 2 instabilities instead of 1. So you probably want to do it like twice. And then you want to go for your special 2s to wreak maximum carnage. Each hit inflicts random debuff. Durations increased by 20% for each buff on either champion. Max 100% increased duration. So optimally, you can double the damage each of these effects can cause an opponent. We have Poison, dealing 4,000 something damage over 10 seconds. Cold Snap, the same damage over the same amount of time. And we have Incinerate. Also, Cold Snap does prevent opponents from evading, so she can potentially be an evade counter in some situations. She would not be the best evade counter by any means, obviously. However, the fact that she can gain that power gain buff with her heavy attack, and the fact that she can nullify opponents' buffs that she herself gives to the opponents, could actually let her get to the level 2 relatively quickly, in my opinion. And it would be quite interesting to see that. And then, obviously, extending that Cold Snap to 20 seconds would probably give you enough time to actually maintain it on some of the fights. So that is another kind of like interesting potential use for her. Not to mention that if you do spam that Mystic Dispersion and nullify a ton of buffs on opponent on constant basis, in combination with the prowess, in combination with the furies and cruelties, there could be some quite wacky numbers. And last one, Special 3. Nullify up to 5 buffs on the opponent. Each buff nullified this way increases this attack rating by 796, so it's nothing too crazy, slightly stronger Special 3. But also remove all instabilities, each inflicting passive degeneration, dealing 7,300 something damage over 10 seconds. So you could potentially get quite a lot of damage with this level 3. Quickly, before I'm going to pass my final remarks on the champion, we're going to check out the synergies. So synergy, Scarlet Witch with these mutants. Copied buffs have 25% increased duration. That's kind of neat. I'd like that. But the mutants and, well, Wolverine is kind of good these days with Apocalypse. But in general, Emma Frost is there. But I don't know how often you'd find these in the same team. Mutant opponents have 30% reduced ability accuracy during either champion's special attacks. And that applies to all champions. So this is, again, one of those synergies that very interestingly works on every single champion in a game and could potentially have some sort of use under specific scenarios. Synergy Scarlet Witch starts the fight with 2 instability. That would be very valuable for casual questing situations where you have a free slot on your team and you just want to speed her up. Scarlet Witch Classic, increase buff duration by 20% and reduce debuff duration by 20%. I'm not even sure whether that significantly helps her, to be honest. Scarlet Witch with both of the visions. When Chaos Surge activates, 8% chance to gain an aptitude buff, increasing Fury, Precision, and Armor buffs by 30%. And it's kind of neat. 8% chance very, very low, though. 8% chance very, very low. It's fairly lengthy buff for 18 seconds, and you have a chance to trigger Chaos Surge every 4 seconds. So you have kind of like 4 triggers here within that 18-second window. I'm not entirely sure how well this would work out in practice, but it's something that would be worth testing about. Also, Visions, landing a heavy attack on an opponent suffering from heal block grants a non-stacking Fury, increasing attack rating by 1000 for 15 seconds. Now, this is quite interesting because obviously 1000 attack rating for a 5 or 6 star champions means absolutely nothing. But if there is some sort of quest where you need to use like 3-star vision or something like that, 1000 attack rating would be a ton for them. So, albeit it's not going to be, again, the best thing ever in generic circumstances. In some specific, I don't know, Karina Challenges Volume 2 or something, it might be a very interesting application of this synergy. Moving on, this synergy set I like quite a bit better. Now, Scarlet Witch Chaos Surge creates regeneration instead of prowess, granting 4% of missing health over 12 seconds. Prowess can no longer be copied, but regeneration can. So you can kind of exchange a lot of damage for some regeneration in situations where you would want to do that. And it might not necessarily be generically helpful all the time, but in some specific places it might make her a real sustainability machine. Especially if you're fighting like Wolverine, for instance, you can just nullify his regions and take the ones for yourself. So Dormammu, imbued attacks have 1250 increased attack rating. Again, I don't think it's nowhere near enough for Dormammu. However, Mephisto, while the opponent's soul is imprisoned, 100% chance to activate Aura of Incinerate when the opponent fails to gain a buff through chance. Cooldown 1 second. This could be very crazy, cheesy mechanic for Mephisto. I actually really look forward to testing this out against stuff like Aegon or Resistor or something. It could be very, 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 very fun. And Dimensional Beings, 15% increased ability power gain rate. Keep in mind, this could help Purgatory significantly, because I believe Purgatory is a dimensional being. So there's, again, something to look out for. And other than that, just some basic synergies with Magneto, his family, and friends with Avengers stuff. So what do you think about the champion? Do I think she's going to be good? Yes. Do I think she can potentially have some very cheesy applications? Definitely. Do I think she's going to be Doctor Doom? No. There is a lot of randomness, a lot of chance involved, and there is all of that chance is on a timer, so there's no real way for you to spam it over time. She would be crazy in certain buff-heavy matchups, but so are most of the other top-end Mystic champions. Therefore, I think she might be an alternate option for most of the fights, where, for instance, if you don't have Sorcerer Supreme or something, she could potentially replace her in a couple of the fights. But in general, it's very hard to judge how well that RNG aspect is going to flow together in this game. I personally do like that Nullify mechanic above everything, and it's a very, very unique ability and fairly unique nullification ability, like considering it's 100% on well-timed parries before you get struck. I'm quite interested in it. And again, as controversial as the release of this character is, I think she's going to be really good. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I'm not going to try and lie to you. I would have preferred if she wasn't a good champion. I would have preferred if she was just like alright, middle of the pack mystic champion. I think there may possibly be some circumstance where she is one of the top options for certain problems to be sorted. Once again, I might be overestimating her or underestimating her. It's still very, very hard to tell without actually having had my hands on her. But if she would be released next month instead of Purgatory, I'd definitely be very, very curious and I'd try to acquire her. And I understand that people who are free to play and plan on staying free to play do not want to hear me say this. But I do feel like she might have some sort of impact on the game. Much more than most of the champions released this year have had. Or maybe I'm wrong and maybe she's gonna suck. But it's definitely worth keeping a close eye on her. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Once again, if you want to see her animations, I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But that is it for now, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya! Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about